Martin Cross, and we're here for the second series of boat race fixtures. Cambridge against Thames women and Oxford against the might of Leander Club. And to talk us through, we've got two Olympic superstars, Grace Prendergast, the Kiwi, who rowed, of course, with Cambridge in 2022, that fantastic 8, and Angus Groom, who rowed in the Oxford crew in 2022, that amazing boat that won the boat race. Going to come to you, Angus, first of all. Very strange conditions today.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're here in the UK, obviously, and we've had an awful lot of rain recently. So the stream along the river is quite significant at the moment. But obviously, when we row, the tideway is a tidal river, so we got to row with the tide coming in. But if the stream's coming the other way, that's creating some pretty. You got stream against tide. It's causing a lot of waves at the moment. So I think it's going to be pretty challenging conditions for the crews today. But you know, boat race is only in 4 weeks' time, and we could get conditions like this on the day. So they've got to learn to row in whatever, really, and particularly in a race situation like this. I think today's race is going to be very valuable for all the crews involved.
So, Grace, do the coxes know where to steer where there's, you know, so much flood water coming in? Do they know where the fastest line is?
I think it becomes a little bit more ambiguous. That's why the fixtures are so important, because it gives you a chance to actually test those in a situation where you can learn and then prepare for the boat race. I know the Cambridge woman coxswain Hannah, she is new on the tideway this year, so I think racing like this is going to be incredibly valuable for her to start practicing that, because she's not someone that's grown up knowing these conditions, and when you haven't grown up here, it's a lot to take in one season. It can be relatively confusing. So yeah, great practice out there today.
Now I want to talk to you about the Cambridge women. They've had a couple of fixtures against the Dutch talent group, which they came off second best in, and then again against the might of Oxford Brooks, where they came off second best. Well, a little bit more, I think, than Oxford, who also went against Oxford Brooks, managed to post. How important is this result for Cambridge? Are they on the back foot? You know, they've won 6 boat races in a row. Is the pressure for the 7th a little bit too much? How do you see it?
I think there is definitely a lot of pressure when you are building up a streak like that. I think there is a lot of value in actually not winning the fixtures. It makes you really critique what you're doing and makes you really push to be like, well, how can we get better? What do we need to change so we're ready for the boat race? So on one hand, you can have a few positives like that, but on the other hand, you also want to build confidence throughout these chances. And if you've come away second best every single time, I think it's hard to feel that level of confidence when you are now going to go and line up against Oxford in a few weeks' time. So I think today they'll be really, really motivated to kind of start building that confidence, get a win under their belt, especially because it's one race out there. You've got one chance. It's a good chance to practice the pressure. So, yeah, I think today will be an important day to start building that.
And they've changed their cocks. What do you read into that?
I think when picking a coxswain, it's a lot to do with the crew that year. So obviously experience is really important, but you need someone that's going to gel and fit in with that crew, and it's a lot about dynamics. So I'm guessing that must have come into play, and that it must have a better suit in that. But yeah, I think it'll be a big task for her, as I said, like not having coxed here before, but equally it's exciting. I think when you know you don't know things that well, you go out there and you really use these opportunities to practice and learn and take it all in. So I'm excited to watch them race today, and I'm excited to see how they're progressing up to the boat race, because this is their last chance to kind of practice this pressure, lining up a crew against a crew that you don't know how fast they are. So yeah, I think it'll be a good one.
So Angus, going to come to you about Oxford. Obviously the Dark Blues won in 2022, but you know there's been a few defeats in between. My sense is the Oxford crew have kind of closed ranks a bit this year, and you know they've realised how important it is to turn around. Can you talk us through the significance of this match race against Leander for the Oxford crew?
Yeah, so I think saying about Oxford closing ranks, so in the past years, Cambridge has obviously had the upper hand on us, apart from the 2022 year. And I think one of the major reasons driving that was I think Cambridge actually were a really tight unit, particularly with the merging of your women's and men's squads. This year, Oxford have made that change as well. We're all under the banner of OUBC, and before that even happened, alumni were asked, what does it mean to row for Oxford? And I think this squad is particularly taking those sentiments to heart this year. So this is probably going to be a really stern test for the Oxford men this year. Or today, the Leander crew is particularly strong. Actually has some of the members from my blue boat in the Leander boat, and I'm sure, having experienced these fixtures from the other side, they are desperate to race against them. So I think it's going to, like Grace said, it's going to be really valuable experience today, and if Leander perhaps do turn them over, that could be good for them come race day. But equally, Oxford are going to be wanting to win, because you want to be going into the boat race winning with that confidence.
I'm just going to ask you guys both, who do you pick to win, the light blues or the dark blues in the fixtures we're watching today? Grace?
This is a hard one. I think it's so hard because you don't know what stage each crew's at. I'm going to go for a light blue win.
Okay.
I'm biased once again,
Right.
but I'm really hoping. I want them to start getting their confidence. I want them to know that they can win and that all the training they're doing they're making good progress. And then I think the Oxford men Leander is going to be, I think, a really good fixture. Two really good crews, both experienced in this kind of racing. I think I'm going to go for an Oxford win as well.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And Angus?
Yeah, I think I would tend to agree with both of those actually. So Thames Rowing Club women are one of the best club women's centres at the moment, and they've had a couple of Henley wins recently, which has been really good for them. So it'll be a stern test for Cambridge, but equally I think the Cambridge women are looking really good. Again, I think it'll be tight in the Oxford Leander fixture, but I think these boat race crews are peaking for 4 weeks' time, whereas the club crews perhaps aren't. So I think Oxford perhaps be a little bit more prepared for this one.
That's great. And just to remind you, if you don't already know, the boat race is happening on the 30th of March, which is a fantastic event. Come down in one of the fan zones. We'll be talking about that during the broadcast and taking all the action. But if you want to get a little bit of hype before that, why not come to the crew announcement? March the 13th at Battersea Power Station. We're open from the afternoon. Come and get your photographs with all the trophies. The crew official naming announcement happens later on that evening, starts at I think 7:30 p.m. It's a public event this year. It's going to be great. Why not be there? That's all for now from Grace, Angus and myself, Martin Cross.
Hello, so we have just finished the coin toss for today's race, and we have a winner from Thames who has chosen the Surrey side. I'm here with both of the coxswains. We've got Tintin from Thames and Hannah from Cambridge. Tintin, you've picked the Surrey side. What's going to be your approach today to the race?
We're quite early in crew formation, looking to Women's Head of the River in 2 weeks' time. So I think our approach will be very internal, just very rhythm focused.
Nice, and I think it's a lot of challenging conditions at the moment. You are obviously based on the Thames. Do you think that's going to give you a bit of an advantage?
I've been coxing on the Tideway for almost a decade. If that doesn't give you an advantage, then it's not worth doing it.
That's a good segue. So this is your first season coxing on the Tideway. How have you found it, and what are the main things that you want to get out of these fixtures?
Yeah, sort of different. We're sort of gearing up towards our peak here in about a month, and this is our last chance to sort of take on the Thames side by side. So we're looking to really just capitalize on this this opportunity and make some really good changes as a crew. Being new to the Tideway, I think just super eager to learn it, and every day is something different, especially with the tides being a little funky right now. So I think it's exciting.
Amazing, thank you. And this is your last fixture before the big boat race coming up very soon. What's the goal? What do you want to get out of today?
I think the goal is just confidence in ourselves. We had some really strong pieces against Brooks, so if we can keep building on those and just come away feeling really confident in ourselves and in our crew, that'll be a good day.
Amazing. Thank you both. Thank you for your time and good luck. I hope there's not too much clashing. I hope it's a clean race and have fun out there.
Hello, everybody, and we are now, as commentators, back in the warm. You can see it's quite chilly outside, isn't it, guys?
It is. I think a typical Tideway weekend. You wouldn't expect anything less.
Yeah, 12:40 we are off for the Cambridge Women against Thames Rowing Club, key fixture that, and then the Oxford Men against Leander Club at 30:45. We're on air live all this time. I'm Martin Cross, and with me, as I've said in the introduction, two Olympic superstars, Grace Prendergast from New Zealand and Angus Groom from Great Britain, obviously. Wearing your club colours, but I guess you might be able to talk with a little bit of distance now that you've sort of, a year or two away from the universities?
Yeah, I think a year or two away that you can sort of step back and also see how amazing the event is in a whole, so slightly less biased, but obviously you come in with your allegiance to your one uni.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm actually still at the university, so I'm a bit less removed from it, I guess. I'll be obviously supporting Oxford Men, but I'm a commentator today. I've got to be very neutral, and actually it's a really, really exciting event. So I'm very intrigued to see how this turns out.
Right, well, let's have a look at who's going to be racing in this first fixture. We're going to get Grace to talk us through her university, Cambridge Women. You can see Cambridge and Thames, the two crews up there, 8 Oarswomen and the coxswain, and I guess we'll have a look at Cambridge first.
Yeah, so starting with Gemma King and Bow. Gemma's come through the lightweight system originally in Cambridge and has moved into a few heavyweight boats, rowing in the Blondie last year and coming away with the win. And then she's also got a twin sister who I believe has moved to Oxford this year, so some good rivalry there.
Catherine, yeah.
And 2-seat, we have Jo Matthews, who's from St John's studying medicine. A lot of experience in her Blondie boats as well. She won in 2021 and 2022, so she'll bring some good experience there. In 3-seat, we've got Iris Powell. She is also coming from the Blondie crew last year, so I think they've got a good solid base of the boat to work through. In 4-seat, we've got Caris Earle from Gonville and Keys studying medicine, another one of the Blondie members from 2023. She was in 6-seat in a trial 8 and has now moved into 4. 5-seat, we've got Karina Graff, who has come from last year's Blue Boat, so had the experience of coming away with a victory there, so I'm sure she'll be used in this crew to draw on that experience and kind of lead from the middle. 6-seat, we have Jenna Armstrong, who is also this year's president, also from the Blue Boat last year and then Blondie the year before, so has been in the Cambridge system for a few years now. 7-seat, we've got Claire Hull. She's studying an MPhil in health science, was a Blondie winner last year, was in 5-seat in that crew, and has actually just moved into 7-seat for this one. In the last fixture she was in 3. In stroke seat, we have Megan Lee. She is coming from the US system, so her first year in the boat race sort of system. She's coming in with a lot of experience. She's an under 23 gold medal winner in the US team, so I think also coming through the Duke University, where I think she was actually coached by Hamish Bond for a little bit there. And then the coxswain, last but not least, is Hannah Murphy, also from the US system. This is her first year in here, so I'm sure she'll be looking forward to the experience of learning the Tideway and gaining all that knowledge. But yeah, and that's wrapping up the Cambridge crew.
Thank you, Grace. Nice to hear it from someone from the Light Brew. So let's have a look at their opposition from Thames Rowing Club, coached by Tom Mapp. There we see the bow woman, the 29-year-old Anna Terry. She's a Henley Women's Regatta finalist, made the semi-final of the Wargrave, which is the women's club event at Henley Royal Regatta last year. She's holding up the bow seat. Phoebe Campbell in 2, just 23 years of age. She won the NCAAs, which is the top American championship with Yale. And she's been selected as a British junior and under 23 oarswoman. Jane Hardy, the 24-year-old, rowed at Edinburgh University. She's won British University Championships. And in the 4 seat, Helena Barton. She is a Henley Royal Regatta winner. Sorry, that's Abby Papp you're looking at there. In sixth seat, it's Kate Matali, 27 years of age. She rode at Brooks for 3 years, another semi-finalist at Henley. And in the seventh seat, we have got Imogen Wollenscroft. She's 24. She won the Challenge Pennant at the Women's Head of the River Regatta. And she joined Thames Rowing Club to recover from a bicycle crash. So both crews lined up on the start. How are you seeing things, guys?
It's looking very, looking a bit bouncy and a bit wavy, but doing a little bit of turning there. So I think they'll just be trying to settle the nerves and settle this. It's only a one piece, so it's a lot of pressure to start well on this one.
They don't seem to be moving a lot, do they?
No, it almost looks like the tide's a bit slack. In that, tide's not going one way or the other. So actually, it could be quite nice conditions later on.
So, seems like a clean start. How would you rate that start from both crews?
I think it looked pretty punchy from both, and both looked like they got away cleanly and not a lot of danger there. I think it looks like it's a pretty even across the start. Maybe Cambridge jumped out initially, but I think it looks like Thames really is getting into their rhythm here.
What's the coach, Paddy Ryan, going to be saying to the Cambridge women in terms of, you've not done as well as you might like to have done in the last two fixtures, how much pressure is on them for this race?
I think he'll be telling them that they actually really need to go out and really attack it from the start. If you haven't done so well in the last fixtures, you really need to, embrace the challenge and get off well, because then you can get your confidence, you can get into it, and then you can settle and drive a rhythm. Whereas if they get off on the back foot, it's going to be hard to come back after that.
So we're coming down after a very even start, very slack water. There's so much land water coming down because of all the rain we've had in the UK that really the incoming tide isn't really able to dominate. So these crews are going to take longer to row this course, which is going to be, I guess, about 2/3 of the way on the boat race course. You can see Cambridge as they come past us, just looking out the window, with a very slight lead, but it's really even, and both coxes behaving themselves. No clashes yet.
No, not just yet. You can actually see it looks quite windy out there. You get all this bounce coming off the walls during this part. Now, after you get past the Craven Cottage, the Fulham football ground you can see on your right, hopefully it should start to flatten out a bit. And as the rate comes down now, it looks like Cambridge are just moving out slightly.
Yeah, Cambridge is really going off onto their side of the river, so it'll be interesting to see if the Thames crew follows. But I think both crews look like they've gone to a good start. It looks like they've both got quite different rowing techniques. Like, to me, Cambridge look a little bit more upright, whereas the Thames crew really looks to be swinging on it. So it'll be interesting to see how the different tactics play out as they go on.
Yeah, they've got a nice swing off the back end, Thames. I like what they're doing there. Through with their coach Tom Mapp, who works with this fantastic women's programme at Thames Rowing Club. Stroke, I'm not sure if we gave her a check. Daria Matthews, the 22-year-old. We're just looking at the middle of the Thames boat there. That's the sixth woman, I think, Katie Matali, that we can see on the left of the picture. And at the moment, Thames Rowing Club just being bettered by the light blues as we pass the first minute of the race. How hard are these guys going at this point in the race, where we come to Fulham football ground? And they're very close to Fulham football ground, aren't they?
Yeah, almost unusually so. Traditionally, the stream would probably be a bit further towards the left of your picture right now. But you're saying about the physical challenge, and this is really where it starts to sting. I often describe to people the feeling of the boat race is like going off for a 2K and you just don't settle, and you just keep going for another 17 minutes. So I think this is the part that's really going to be hurting them, and they've got to sit in this for the next couple of minutes.
Yeah, it takes a lot of confidence in this, but I think especially in the boat race where you really need to get off to a good start, you're often going out harder than you would in a 2K race, and then it's just like, okay, how can I grin and bear this lactic acid and know that it will start to feel better when you drive onto your rhythm. And it looks like Cambridge has really attacked it, but it looks like Thames is really holding on, and they've not given Cambridge as much advantage as they probably would have wanted on that inside corner.
I'd say Cambridge would have wanted more. I think you're absolutely right, Grace. I think Thames have done really well to stick in there. I reckon that both coxes, they've got to stay in the centre of the river and shoot the centre of Hammersmith Bridge. But I guess round the Surrey bend, the crew on the left, Thames Rowing Club, will cut in as the river moves round towards our left as we're looking at the screen. And Cambridge, I think, will have a lot of work to do in the latter part of this race.
Exactly. It looks like Thames are actually making a bit of a move now. They've gained some distance back on Cambridge. So it'd be quite interesting in the next couple of minutes to see how Cambridge respond, because they're going to have to if they want to win this race.
It's quite striking, as you mentioned the technique, Grace, that nice sort of swing back and move off the back with the Thames. They put some momentum into that shell as they move away. And I know we're not getting quite the same view of Cambridge on the right of the picture, but it doesn't look like they've got quite so much swing off the back.
Yeah, it doesn't look like that. I actually went for a row with the Cambridge women a few weeks ago, and it was something that I know they were working on, so maybe that's still a work in progress, because they definitely look a little bit more upright in the other crew. But it takes a lot of confidence to learn how to swing back, sit back, have that patience.
It also looks like Thames Rowing Club, they look a lot more relaxed on the recovery. They're getting a lot more out of each stroke than the Cambridge women at the minute. Well, the Cambridge are really sticking in there. It looks like they've just checked that move by Thames.
Yeah, I would say Thames, just looking at this, and you can make your own guesses, can't you, might have a very slight advantage, maybe 50 centimetres or so. It is a fantastic race, I think you can agree to that, but the bend will swing round in favour of Thames, and their cox, Antonia, inverted commas, Tintin Stutter, who's cox with Tideway Scullers, a club down at the finish of the boat race course for many years. I guess she's going to be really enjoying this feeling. You know, it's our bend to come, and that must feel good for her.
There's nothing better than knowing you're just slowly creeping through a crew, and I think this will be a really, really important phase for Cambridge, to not get down, not lose your confidence, but being the crew that's behind at the start and then you slowly edge away. I think it gives you a lot of free energy, and I think Thames have done that really well, but this will be a good test for Cambridge, and not to panic, and it kind of looks like they're getting a little bit rushier, so it's having that confidence to actually stay strong in the water and still have time and not feel like you're just going to chase it.
And this highlights the importance of the cox. Like, this is a crucial part of the race, and it's really the cox's job just to let give a sense of calm to their crew and give them confidence that, you know, guys, we've done this in training and we can get this out now.
I guess if this was going to be a full boat race course, and it's not, it's 2/3 of the way down, so we've probably got another 5 minutes to row, to Chiswick Steps. But Cambridge's job will be to hang on to Thames and then take the advantage as the race moves round to a right-hand bend, which is going towards the finish, Barnes Bridge. But they haven't got that to look forward to, so I guess they've got to try and hang on anyway. So this is a crucial part of the race for the Light Blues.
Yeah, and I guess when you put this race in perspective of the whole season, this is a good test. It's a good thing for them to practice being under this much pressure, and also know that they actually don't have the advantage later on. They've got to respond now, and I think that was a lot for me to get my head around in the boat race. Sometimes you need to do a move that's above and beyond what you can hold, and it takes a lot of confidence to do that and then be able to come back onto your rhythm. But hopefully this is a time that Cambridge can practice doing something like that in case it happens in a couple of weeks' time.
I don't know, looking at Cambridge, it seems they're rowing well and nicely, but it seems like they could do just the finesse at the front end, maybe just the way the blades are locking, a little bit of inconsistency there. I don't know if I'm seeing something different to you guys on that.
I don't know. I think Cambridge looked quite good at the front end. To me, I think it's probably more in the recovery that they're losing. They're losing it. And I think Thames are really making the most out of that. So I think Cambridge just need to calm down and perhaps just drop their stroke rate. We just saw the stroke rates pop up on the screen there. Cambridge are overrating Thames by 4 beats per minute, which is a lot. So, you know, if they can get a bit more out of each stroke, then I think they can actually make a move here.
Yeah, it's a really interesting philosophy. I think sometimes as a rower you want to feel like you're doing absolutely everything to go as fast as you can, and that can sometimes translate to rating high, but having the confidence to be like, actually, can we drop it 2 points and go just as fast because the boat's doing more work for us is a really important thing to be able to get your head around, and maybe that's the situation. But Cambridge is not letting Thames just walk away, and often when a crew can inch, you can lose your confidence and let them break free, but it looks like here they're holding on well, and maybe they know it's starting to straighten out soon and they're about to push, but this looks like a good move from Cambridge.
Cambridge might be pushing back there, and at the top of your picture, well, on the left of your picture now, the women from Thames Rowing Club, just next to us on the embankment down here at Putney. Fantastic club. Cambridge University Boat Club on the right of the picture. You're with me, Martin Cross, Grace Prendergast and Angus Groom, taking you through the closing stages of this first fixture that we've got to show you today of the boat race warm-up series. And, well, Cambridge are really battling, and they've got to at the high rate. They've got to get back on Thames Rowing Club. It's going to make such a difference. If they can finish level with Thames Rowing Club, that's going to be, you've got a lot out of this, and that's a big ask, isn't it, at the moment?
Yeah, definitely. I think Cambridge have actually done pretty well to check the inside of the bend so far that Thames have got. This Surrey bend, it kind of goes in sections, and we're just coming into a section now which is going to favour Thames a little bit more. So I think if Cambridge can survive perhaps the next minute and then have a sprint for home, then perhaps they can get on terms where it's a bit more straighter.
Yeah, maybe Thames pushing a bit out. How come we haven't had any clashing, guys? Normally, you know, the coxes tend to steer towards each other, and it's a bit exciting for us commentators, if not for Richard Phelps, the umpire. Why hasn't that happened this race?
Yeah, they look like they're getting close, but not. Yeah, I guess the coxswains are probably like, we want to give our crews the best chance of having a clean row where they're not having to be put under added pressure and they can focus on what they're doing in their rowing.
Yeah, just look at that graphic on the bottom right of the screen. That tells you where they are on the boat race course. Cambridge up at 36, Thames still down at 32. Cambridge, of course, more prepared for the actual boat race, and the finish will come, I guess, in the next minute and a half, and Cambridge will be winding for the finish. Thames, maybe they might rise to 33 if they can hit 34. Are Cambridge moving?
I think they are, you know. Just going back to your previous point about not clashing, actually. So often it's a tactic of coxes to clash to get a bit of an advantage. But I think, like Grace said, like they want to make the most out of the pieces. So I think they're going to. It's been the right call today not to go for each other.
So we're coming round to Chiswick Steps, which I think is the finish of this piece. It's a long piece that they're doing, sort of 2/3 of the boat race course. Thames, the crew on the far side in the dark colours, leading the Cambridge light blue boat as we come up to the last few strokes of this race. Cambridge desperately trying to get back, aren't they?
They really are, and you can see the rate going up and up and up, and it looks like the two different rhythms are getting further apart from each other in the Cambridge and the Thames crew. But also, when you're on that lower base rhythm, sometimes you can't transfer up as easy, so it'll be interesting to see what Thames can do here if Cambridge starts pushing back, if they can actually start going up and respond.
Cambridge are really putting pressure on Thames now. This is a really good sprint for them.
Yeah, so we're coming up towards the finish. Chiswick Steps is very close. It's a bit difficult to spot on the bank, is it, Chiswick Steps? I'm not sure I've ever known when I'm going past it.
There you go.
There we go. Yeah, okay, in the background. Well, what's that going to have been like? A canvas, a quarter of a length to Thames Rowing Club?
Yeah, it was a very spirited finish from Cambridge, and they managed to pull it back well. So I don't know, the angles are sometimes a little bit hard to tell, but it looked like it was all down to about a canvas at a guess.
You know, we can get a look at that race and look at the key moments of it shortly. Just off the top of your head, Grace, what is that going to do for Cambridge's confidence going forward for the boat race on the 30th of March?
I think it'll be a mixture. I think there's some really positive things for Cambridge to take out of that. They managed to respond to a crew that was inching and could have broken free, so I think that's a real positive. And to be able to have a really strong start is another thing I know that they've been trying to work on, so they're two things I think they can gain confidence in. I think the tough thing will be that it's a shorter course and they were rating higher, they did wind at the end, and then understanding how you're going to translate that when you've got to add another 6-7 minutes to the race.
So let's have a look at the highlights. We kind of spoke about the start in commentary. Clean from both crews. I guess looking at, I still wonder about the Cambridge front end actually, just a little bit disjointed. I don't know whether that's how I'm seeing it, or if that's the case. And then we had this beautiful patch coming past the boathouses on the embankment. Great place to watch the boat race. Of course, there's going to be a fan zone over there in Bishop's Park as well to catch the boat race on March the 30th. Nice smooth from Megan Lee in the stroke seat of Cambridge, around the back end.
Yeah, she looks like she's setting up her crew really well, and she's sort of holding through, sitting back. So I think if you can start passing that down and down, then they'll be able to really cement that base rhythm.
And this is where Cambridge had to hang on against Thames, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think actually Cambridge will have gotten a lot of confidence out of that section in particular, because if you're the Middlesex crew and you're checking the moves of the Surrey crew going around that bend, like it's all to play for come past the point where the piece finished, and that could be a massive mental blow to the crew on Surrey.
I also think Cambridge having the practice of sitting next to a crew for so long will be so valuable for them. Like, they were within contact the whole time, so you're practicing that side-by-side race, and they would have got a lot of confidence that they can cope with that pressure and embrace that rather than shy away from it.
So as we're looking at this, coming up towards the finish, Ian Weir, who's our technical wizard, has just handed me the verdict. I feel like, as your Cambridge, you should read it out, Grace.
Yeah, I'll take the honours on this one. Thames beat Cambridge women. Verdict was 1 foot. So, as we're saying, great practice for Cambridge to be in a race like that. Strong performance from Thames, and they looked like they had a good rhythm. I was super impressed with how the Thames women transferred onto their base pace rhythm, and it looked really strong. So I think actually a real positive for both crews. But yeah, 1 foot. Not in Cambridge's favour.
So what we're going to do is, because there would normally be a second fixture, the thing is, because there's so much land water coming down, there isn't enough time to run this whole series of fixtures today, with every crew having 2 races, so they can only have 1 race. So as a treat for you, if you haven't seen it, and it is a treat, what we're going to do is show you some highlights, some of the pieces from the first series of fixture, where it was great because there was fantastic blade clashing and lots of stuff, close verdicts. So this is the first series of fixtures that we're going to take a look at, and then of course we're going to come back and plenty of time to chat through our next fixture, which is the Oxford men versus Leander Club.
This holiday, Give yourself the transformation you deserve.
Yes, you've got this.
Get healthier and stronger
You never regret a workout.
with coaching from world-class athletes who will take you to stunning locations with low-impact, full-body workouts.
We want to find momentum today together.
The best 20 minutes of your day, every day.
This is gonna be exciting really quick.
Brooks Cox, the American Sophia Bernal, very experienced Cox on the Tideway. She steered this fixture, as we said, last year. And, well, it's straight for a little bit, and then we've got the bend in favour of the Oxford Dark Blues, who are on the right of the picture. Just a reminder, if you're tuning in, this is the third of 3 5-minute pieces between Oxford Brooks with the Dayglow Yellow tops, Britain's Premier Rowing University, and Oxford University women on the right of the picture. I'm Martin Cross, and with me Zoe de Toledo and Henry Fieldman.
Great start there from both crews. I think Oxford went off a little bit more aggressively than they had done in previous races. I think if anything they might have just squeezed out a little bit ahead. Brooks, you can see now steering over a little bit to close up that gap. I think this one's going to be quite fast and furious.
Not quite as much time round the back turn as they had in the first 5 minutes, I think. Brooks slightly chasing it compared to what they did earlier.
Yeah, I would agree. I think the Brooks boat to me looks just a little bit pulled off the front with a handle, whereas I think in the first two pieces it looked really quite well placed, hooked and levered. Now just perhaps just feeling a little bit of pressure, being down and under pressure, knowing that the next few minutes they're going to be at a disadvantageous position on the river.
I don't know what Alan French, the coach, said to them, if he said anything, or if it's just come from Joe Geller and the conversation with the strokewoman Annie Idzakis, but the Oxford women, the Dark Blues, have gone off with a real sense of purpose. They are leading this race. It's the first time that the bows have been in front, I think, in this contest, and they have got the Middlesex bend to come round Barnes Bridge.
And you look at the two crews, and actually the Brooks crew looks tidier. You know, their blade work is sort of sharper at the front, the timing is better, but that Oxford crew is doing something really impressive under the water. When their blades are in the water, okay, maybe they're not going in quite together, they can work on that, they've still got time, but they are holding despite looking like the slightly untidier crew.
Yeah, there we see the Oxford Brooks boat zeroing in on the stroke, Brenna Randall, and then behind her Rihanna Sumpter, Grace Richard, Martha Birtles. Going down the boat, Amelia Regan, Ariana Ford in the 3-seat there, Bea Dutton and Claire Ferrick in the bows. And I was going to say, I really do like watching Annie Sharp's blade in the 6th seat of the Oxford women. She's so consistent about what she's doing there, and I think setting that boat up beautifully, really taking the weight off Annie Idzakis in the stroke seat of the Dark Blues.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, she is absolutely getting locked up and levered. There's hardly any pull on the handle off the front. She's really levering the boat. And I'm sure that the ladies around her are going to be feeling that. And they can't help but be sucked into that kind of rhythm that's coming out of the 6th seat.
Just to shout down, Phoebe Mountain up in the bows of the Oxford boat. Ella Stadler, the president, in the 2 seats. Must be feeling really pleased with what the crew's doing. Tessa Hanning, Freya Willis, Sarah Marshall, Annie Sharp, as we talked about, in 6, and then the stern pair, Lucy Edmonds and Annie Idzakis, Cox by Joe Geller, who, how would you read his steering on this piece, Henry?
I think he's doing a great job. Like he's in the advantageous position, I should say, and he's just keeping out of trouble. Okay, right, as I say that, they're actually getting a little bit close together. I think he probably could take that bend a little bit tighter now, but I think up from the start to Barnes, great job.
But he's done a lovely job there of actually turning. You know, he pushed that. Okay, he pushed it, but he did it nicely. Now he's turning into that bend, and he's given his crew a good few seats just on that move. I think that was really slick going through Barnes Bridge there.
So we haven't got the clock on the screen, so we don't know how far through we are, but there's probably at least a minute, maybe a minute and a half left or something like that. And Oxford, the dark blues on the right hand side, as you can see, do have their bows slightly in front. There will be a massive effort from the Brooks 8, I'm sure, in the last minute of this race. They won't want to lose to Oxford.
I think that Oxford Brooks 8 looks actually pretty good right now. They're really getting attached to the front now. The blades are getting close. I think the momentum is with Brooks just.
Yeah, that was an interesting bit of steering there. I think Soph and the Brooks crew tried to take advantage of Oxford being warned, but went a little bit too far and actually ended up being warned herself. So I think that was a slightly too aggressive move. Having said that, their rhythm is great and they are moving through them.
So a reminder that the Oxford boat, just looking there in the background, do have the advantage on the side. They went out early in this race, as they had to do, because Brooks had led them on the first 5 minutes. Can the Oxford boat finish with their bows in front? That would be a massive scalp. I think Brooks are coming through them.
I think that's dead level now, and Brooks seem to have a little bit more momentum. I think they've just kind of got that efficiency back. You know, you were saying earlier they looked like they were tugging it a bit at the back end. That looks like it's settled down a little bit now. But here we go, Oxford are raising it again. Oh, this is going to get very tight here.
Would you want to put Brooks off their rhythm to try and keep that lead at all?
I think it's something you might want to do, but you just never know which way it's going to go. 50-50 in a clash. Personally, for me, I wouldn't risk it.
I would say the same. I'm extremely risk averse, perhaps for obvious reasons, and I would also want to give my crew a clear run. And I think actually Brooks did themselves a bit of a disservice there, bouncing in, because they had the better rhythm. Yes, they're on the outside of the bend, but I think their rhythm could have taken them through. And actually, that last clash did disadvantage them. And if anything, Oxford have now put themselves back level.
They have, haven't they? It looks like the boats are level, and we probably must be coming up to the 5-minute mark. And the Oxford woman, you can see her look round from Phoebe Mount in the bow, and the Oxford woman, she's really hurting, as all those women in these two boats must be.
You can see Brooks again being warned. I think they might be going through to the finish actually, rather than 5 minutes here. But now look, Oxford have surged right up, and I think they've used that little bit of wiggling back and forth from Brooks. Look at this move, this last 10-20 strokes from Oxford. They put themselves right up there, and actually I think it's still Brooks being warned. Look at that rhythm from Oxford. Look at them go.
That is sensational. Okay, they do have the inside of that bend, but this is an amazing result for the Oxford women and their coach Alan French, and also fantastic practice for the boat race to take it out on Brooks as we're coming up to the finish.
That's exactly the kind of performance I wanted to see from the Oxford women. That was really, really gutsy, that move there.
Yeah, an amazing move by them. I mean, they're now almost, looks like they're a length up. And if that bend is worth 2/3 of a length, they've beaten them. They would have beaten them on a straight course.
And they're still moving. They're moving away. They're putting water into them now.
That's crazy. So this must be, all right, 2022 crew apart, this must be one of the best Oxford women's crews we've seen in recent years.
They didn't look that tidy, but just the performance, the way they dug into that. Brooks have stopped now. I think they've called it a day. But the way they just held on and just didn't get perturbed about being slightly down, I really liked watching that.
Yeah, I would agree. I think what the Oxford boat showed there is resilience in so many instances, being down, being clashed with, being in a very disadvantageous position on the river, and they never gave up. So I think that's hats off to them. I think that for me is the best Oxford women's boat I've seen in many years.
Yeah, there's Ed Bracey with his hand up. His dad Andrew is here watching the race, and Sarah Kalf, the near house coxswain, with her hand up on the right hand side. We didn't mention her in the crew. Former lightweight rower who switched to coxing after she was hit by a car. And both coxes' hands are down. We're going to start imminently. Long stroke from the Dutch there on the first stroke.
Yeah, they looked like they had a plan to sort of, rather than take a very high, fast start, it was more of a considered, you know, really get the boat up and rolling, which is probably a good way to get into a good, solid race pace.
I like the rock of Cambridge off the back, actually. They're up at high rate. They look to be rocking together.
Yeah, I agree. I think Cambridge looked very compact into the front. I think that's coming from that really good stretch out off the back. Looks very compact, very simple, very effortless.
So, here we are in the opening moments. I think these guys are doing a couple of pieces, and this is the first of them. Just off the start, going down the Fulham Wall, maybe just the merest to lead by the Dutch, but as I say that, it's the parallax, you can't really tell on the parallax. Cambridge look ahead. Cambridge rating lower, 38.5 to the Dutch 40. That might help the Cambridge crew round the outside of this Middlesex bend.
Yeah, I mean, that's you've got to decide whether you're going to try and go a bit harder and hold on around the outside of the bend, or whether you're going to settle down onto a rhythm and potentially take a little bit of a chance with it. I think the thing that might complicate this race is it looks like there's some sailing boats that have just come out onto the course. So we're going to see if the crews need to navigate around that, and we'll see what impact that has now. These fixtures, there's a notice to mariners so people know they're happening, but there's no river closure, so we do have to navigate other river users here as well.
Here we see Luca Ferraro on the edge of his shot, Tom Lynch in the 6th seat, king of TikTok, his hat set back. Behind Tom Lynch is Ken Copeland from the USA, and then Noam Moel, Frenchman, in the 4th seat. Behind him, sub Dane Halkew. Looks really clean, his blade, doesn't he, the sub for the Cambridge crew. And a great race in prospect. I think the Dutch will be pleased that they've not been left by Cambridge as they were last year.
Yeah, absolutely. A great start by both boats. It looks to me like the Dutch probably have a few more horses under the bonnet than Cambridge, but Cambridge to me look in a more efficient rhythm. So I would bet that as we come around this bend and onto the next straight, Cambridge are going to open out a little bit. But the crews are pretty level right now.
We're also seeing a little bit more chop in the water now, even though we've got similar... Oh, here we go.
Talk to us about that. They're coming together.
You just got to go. You just got to go as hard as you can here, as hard as you can. Just keep moving.
Yeah, get Balfour, that's the key. Get Balfour to keep rowing a good rhythm to get you out of there. I didn't see what happened in the lead up to it because of that change in the camera shot, so I'm not sure who was at fault for that. It looks like Cambridge, well, looks like they're about to go straight back into each other actually now.
So Matthew Pinsent is umpiring this race, and I'm not sure what he's going to be making of all this, but
when you see Cambridge actually lost it there, I think it was their 3 seats blade got turned around in his hands, and he recovered that really well, but those couple of strokes allowed the Dutch just back on even footing there, I would say.
So bit of excitement in the middle. When you say you just got to keep going, can you just say a bit more about that, Henry, when the blades clash?
Well, it's very timely because I think we're going exactly in the same situation again. You've just got to try and keep as much momentum as you can, try and keep as much rhythm as you can. Anyone that's not in the clash has to try and get you either out of or more into the clash.
So Cambridge look to have rediscovered their rhythm. I think the Dutch are trying to row long. That rhythm set by Johan Salverde in the stroke seat. Mike Mantell, the world silver medalist, in the 7th seat. We're looking at the bows of the Dutch 8 there. Ollie van Boemen right up there on the left of your picture. And Cambridge just edging away now.
Well, there's going to be another clash again now, I think.
I think the Netherlands Cox is deliberately steering into Cambridge, which is it's difficult because Cambridge are trying to live by the rules of the boat race right now, and the crews that you're having in these fixtures don't.
And the Dutch have come off worse. Now you were actually saying that's the 2-man in the Dutch 8, Mats van Saben, the 23-year-old, has lost his blade. The Dutch are going to have to slow down. He won't be able to get it out of the water. Disaster for them, and you would say perhaps a bit deserved, Henry.
I would say so. I think like when you go in for a clash, it's 50-50, and if you want to play by those rules, that's the thing that can happen. I think it's unfortunate that this fixture has ended in that way, but I think it's deserved.
So how much is that down to the Cox and Sarah Kauf of the Dutch talent group there?
I mean, they looked like they were coming in pretty close. If you look at where they are now, you know, the Cambridge crew, if anything, looked like they'd been pushed quite tight there. and had to actually really come back out. So I'm kind of surprised that, I mean, I don't know, I think if that clash had caused a problem in the Cambridge boat, that might have ended up in a disqualification for the Dutch.
Yeah, I didn't see what Matt Pinn said, the umpire of this boat, in a briefing, but I did see a briefing where Matt Smith basically read the riot act to them and said, if you clash, I'm going to disqualify you.
We've had to stop here, so we're going to reset and get the cruise.
Do you think so?
I
Or was that the plan?
I think they're planning to do 2 half courses.
So
okay.
It would be help if we can have a look at that clash and let's see. So,
Well, which one? There were several.
Well, okay, who's at fault on this one, guys?
I'd say the Dutch.
I think I agree with Henry.
And
Because look how you can see, if you look at the Cambridge boat, their boat's parallel to the bank, whereas the Cambridge crew were pointed in towards them.
And there's that crab caught by the Dutch 2-man Mats van Saben. And when you're in that situation, you just can't get the boat out because you've got you've got momentum on the boat. And I think we're going to see a restart. So we've seen that. We've seen that crab, but it does sound like Matthew Pinson is going to order a restart of the race.
I'd love to hear what Matthew's saying to them now.
Yeah, do you think he'll have 4 letters in?
No, he's too polite.
I think his head, thought bubble, will be doing 4 letters.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
But
He's got more self-control than we do, perhaps.
he should have.
The cruise now, there will be adrenaline coursing through the veins, especially after those clashes now. So it'll be really interesting to see who can keep their head now, get into a fast rhythm and really shift into something that's effective and aggressive.
This holiday, give yourself the transformation you deserve.
Yes, you've got this.
Get healthier and stronger
You never regret a workout.
with coaching from world-class athletes who will take you to stunning locations with low-impact, full-body workouts.
We want to find momentum today together.
The best 20 minutes of your day, every day.
This is gonna be exciting really quick.
Hello, and we're back with you live now. We hope you enjoyed those messages from our sponsors and the previous races. They were quite exciting, weren't they? Oxford Brooks against Oxford Women, and the Cambridge men against the Dutch, and all those clashing. I do have to say one thing, just on that final fixture between Oxford Women and Oxford Brooks. I did see on the Brooks website that there was kind of a little bit of an excuse about the last piece, which Oxford Women won, that Brooks were a little confused about the finish.
Yeah, it looked like it could have been like that. I think it looked like they weren't sure where they were racing to, but then on the other hand, it looked like the Oxford women were making a very good move probably before the confusion settled in.
Yeah,
I guess both teams can play out how they'd like.
I think they agreed 3-5 minutes, but if you're on the finish, coming towards the finish of the boat race course, you're going to go to the finish of the boat race course, aren't you?
Yeah, you're going to practice what that last little bit feels like.
We are looking at one of the fixtures there. I think I did see Leander leading ISIS, and this is there are a lot of fixtures going on today, and these are pictures of one of the races. I think off the start I did see ISIS were being led by Leander, so if that is Leander ISIS, they are they're going. I think ISIS have rode through them, which would be great for the Dark Blues. We do have some results, and we'll keep you up to date. Blondie, who are the reserves for the Cambridge women that we've just seen race, they went up against Thames, and the Thames crew in that race won by 5 lengths, which is a bit of a defeat for Blondie, Grace.
It is a bit of a defeat by Blondie, and I think it'll give them a bit to go away and think about before the final build into the boat race, but yeah, it's a convincing win to the other side.
Now we're looking from, I guess, the rowing clubs at Hammersmith Bridge and around about Furnival, and of course this is one of the fan zones that spectators will be able to watch the boat race on Saturday, March the 30th. I know, Grace, you're in New Zealand at a wedding, so you might be watching it on your phone or something, or in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
But if you, where would be your pick to watch the boat race?
I think, having done it differently every year, obviously 1 year I was in it, last year I was doing comms, I think I'd want to be in one of the fan parks to really get the atmosphere, the vibe, how much of the real rowing you get to see, but you get to be amongst the crowd, because that's the coolest thing about the boat race, is how many people come down, how exciting it is. Yeah, I'd go to a fan zone.
I think particularly this one at Furnival, right where this picture is, it's great fun. A lot of my family who came to watch my race said it was probably the best place to watch, because that's where it's a huge gathering of students and fans from both sides. Real festival atmosphere, and this is like probably the most decisive point in the race as well, so it's a great place to watch from.
Angus, a lot of people got different views about cruising rowing. 2022 Oxford Blue Boat, greatest Oxford boat ever?
That's a bit of a mean
I know.
situation to put me in, Crossy. To be honest, our crew all looked up to some Oxford crews in particular, and the 2005 one springs to mind. Obviously, the 2002 and 2003 boat races, which were so close.
Sorry about that, Angus. So we're looking at ISIS here. We weren't scheduled to bring you these pictures, but we got some fantastic cameras along the course. So on the right of your picture, it's the ISIS boat. You saw the cox just with his hand out. ISIS have got Oxford have got three fantastic coxes with their president Louis Corrigan, and Leander, who did lead off. Admittedly, they haven't done as much rowing of late, but this is good news for the Dark Blues. Good news for the first Oxford boat in their challenge up against Leander this afternoon, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Oxford has got a very strong squad this year. And they've had lots of competition for the blue boat. There's some guys actually in this ISIS crew here that did the first fixture in the blue boats, and equally, so that second Leander boat that's very strong as well. They had, I think, 3 of the guys who won the ladies challenge plate a couple of years ago are in that second crew that ISIS has just beaten.
Oh, really? And look at the high fives they're giving. I mean, Oxford have been flying under the radar, but there was no doubt in the emotion on public display there.
Yeah, it means a lot to them. Like, these guys desperately want to win. Like the two guys that were in the blue boat last year, Tom Sharrock and Freddie Orpin, they are desperate for success. So any wins that they win on any race that they win on this stretch of river, they're going to celebrate and celebrate hard.
And I guess the whole boat club is Oxford University Boat Club, now joint, men and women, are going to be taking a lot from each of these, triumphs. Even though this is the reserve boat, it will mean a lot to the boat club.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we want to. Each club wants to build a culture of winning, and that starts even the spare pairs race like that. We want to build. We want to support the guys right at the bottom of the squad and right up to the top of the squad. We are one squad, and I'm sure Cambridge are exactly the same.
Well, you saw a little bit of that sort of one of the races going on here. We have actually got, and they'll go past our window, we'll let you know the results, the light blue boat, the men, Cambridge, are going up against the might of Oxford Brooks, which is going to be a really tasty fixture. Of course, we saw the Cambridge men. You saw that in the highlights, didn't you, with all those clashing with the Dutch boat. Maybe just have a little suggestion about how significant that fixture will be to the light blue men, Grace?
I think it'll be really significant. As you say, the last one there was a lot of clashes and a lot going on, so that teaches you a lot how to handle that, but equally you want to also go out there and have a one that you can actually practice your race rhythm, practice against obviously really, really strong competition in Brooks, and see what you can do. And as this is the final fixture for a lot of the crews, it's their last chance to be like, well, what do we need to go off and nail and work on for the next month so that we can turn up in the boat race confident and sure that we've ticked all the boxes. So it'll be a big test for them, and also a way to judge how maybe they perform against them compared to how Oxford performs against them.
Right. Thank you. And of course, a big thank you to our sponsors. The boat race wouldn't really happen in the way that it does without tremendous support from our major partner Gemini, of course, who've been with the race for the last few years, and our other sponsors like Chapel Down, T. Rowe Price and Hydro. And it's really important, isn't it, to get these partnerships in terms of events like this now. So let's have a look and let's have a word from our sponsors.
This holiday, give yourself the transformation you deserve.
Yes, you've got this.
Get healthier and stronger
You never regret a workout.
with coaching from world-class athletes who will take you to stunning locations with low-impact, full-body workouts.
We want to find momentum today together.
The best 20 minutes of your day, every day.
This is gonna be exciting really quick.
So much excitement in last year's boat race, and thanks for those messages from our sponsors. We are building up to the second big race of the day, the fixture between the Dark Blues and the Titans of Leander Club. You can see the weather. It's a pretty grey day out here. There is a cold breeze, and well, the rowers are coping with that all right. They're used to a lot colder, I think, sub-zero temperatures in some cases. This is, I think, a massive race for the Dark Blues. They went up against Thames a few weeks ago, and well, they bested Thames easily, but this is going to be a different matter, this fixture. It's going to be nip and tuck between the two crews. I'm not sure if this is the Dark Blues' last fixture before the boat race, but it might be, and it assumes all the greater importance. So we're going to have a look at the two fantastic crews going head to head in this one, and you can see the Oxford men on the left of the picture. New lineup, few changes in that lineup from the last fixture against Thames, position changes, and the powerhouse that is Leander Club in pink. And to take you through those crews, because he's rowed with a lot of them, is Angus Groom.
Yeah, so Oxford have had a bit of a reshuffle since their fixture with Thames. So perhaps if we go through the crew list, and I think we're going to start, yes, with Bow. So here we go. Jelmer Benmer, the Dutch 23-year-old, is at Exeter College. He was at Princeton previously, and has had under-23 honours for Netherlands. In the 2 seats, we have Harry Glenister. Now this guy, he's absolutely fantastic. He was in the GB squad for a number of years, and missed out unfortunately on selection for the Olympics, but he's going to make the most of this opportunity, I'm sure. In the 3 seat, we have Saxon Stacey, the young man, the 20-year-old, at St John's College, undergraduate. He was previously at Eton, and he's a junior world champion in the Junior Coxless 4 in 2022. In the 4 seats, we have returning blue James Doran, previous at Edinburgh University. He was a ladies' plate winner at Henley last year, in a composite crew with Brooks, and I'm sure he's desperate for success in this year's blue boat. In the 5 seat, we've got Elias Kuhn from Germany, Green Templeton College. Previously at Northeastern, and he's a strong guy. Hopefully, and he's come into the crew since that Thames fixture, and hopefully he'll shore them up. In 6th seat, we have Fred Roper, the 24-year-old Aussie, who's from Somerville. He's had previous success in the US, in the Cal 2V. In the 7th seat, there's Lenny Jenkins. He has previously had international honours with GB and also New Zealand. So actually quite unusual in that regard, but he had tremendous success in that Yale 8 from a couple of years ago that won IRAs a bunch of times. New stroke seats, we have Elliot Kemp, the young Brit, who's doing a MSc in paediatrics at Oriel College. He's a bright young talent, British young talent, had tremendous success at Cal. And won the IRAs in the 1V in 2022 and in the 2V in 2023. And in the coxing seat on the rudder strings, we have Will Denegry, the 23-year-old studying law at Oriel, had previous success at Oxford Brookes, and he's a real bright young coxing talent in the world of GB rowing. For the Leander crew, coxed by Matt Beachy. In the bow seat, we have actually a sculler by trade, Rory Harris, 25-year-old. He's a fantastic sculler. He previously won a bronze medal at the World Cup in Sabaudi in 2021. And actually, he learnt to row at Walter Rowing Club, my previous rowing club, so I know him very well. In the 2 seat, we've got Jack Pryor, the 25-year-old, who was previously at Oxford Brookes and was in the under 23 GB men's 8 that won a gold medal. In the 3 seat, we've got a very strong guy, Miles Beeson, 23-year-old. He's in the Yale 1V for the past couple of years and has come back to the UK. He's a proud Scot and has won under 23s a whole bunch of times. So he'd dearly love to bring an Olympic medal back to his home on the D in Aberdeen. In Sam Bannister. Sam Bannister's in the 4 seat. He's been in and out of the GB squad this previous year and he's had tremendous success with Oxford Brookes at Henley over the years. In the 5 seat, someone who I know very well, Tobias Schroeder, 24-year-old who he stroked the My Blue Boat in 2022, and so he's having had the experience from this fixture from the other side in the Oxford boat. I'm sure that he knows exactly what Oxford are going to throw at him today. In the 6th seat, we've got Douwe de Graaf, real bright young talent. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him in the Olympic squad leading up to the LA Olympics in the next cycle. In the 7th seat, we've got Bruce Turnell, 23-year-old, previously at Newcastle University, and he'll be looking to break into the GB squad next year. In the stroke seat, we've got the experienced hands of Matt Rowe, also has been involved in the GB senior squad this year. Great success with Brookes as well, phenomenal force, but learnt to row at Shrewsbury School. And finally, in the coxing seats, another blue who was also in my boat, Jack Totham. He's a great guy. Perhaps he'll be a real asset to Leander in this fixture. Like Tobias, he'll know exactly what Oxford are going to throw at him.
Spoken like an old pro there, Angus. Thank you, and well done for taking us through those 2 crews. If you're interested, of course, there are other fixtures going on today. If you're of a light blue persuasion, you might like to know, going past us, so perhaps about a minute off the start, Cambridge, their blue boat were half a length up against Brookes, Oxford Brookes, the might of Oxford Brookes. So a great start by the light blues in their fixture. Of course, we're going to concentrate on the dark blues of Oxford and show you the whole of this race, which is over about 2/3 of the boat race course. Oxford men versus Leander. We think the race will start at 1:40. Let's just have a look at a little interview before that.
I'm here with 2 coxes for the Oxford versus Leander fixture. I'll come to Will first for Oxford. So, some pretty challenging conditions out there today. How are you going to tackle those? That's best for your crew.
Yeah, they are challenging, but we've been lucky over the past week or so to have a lot of time out on the river and here as well, practicing with that. So I think the way we tackle it is we just have confidence in our rhythm and in what we've been working on. And for us today, success is executing exactly what we've been practicing and training. That's great.
And you had a great fixture against Thames Rowing Club men the other week. What have you learnt from that fixture that you're going to put into practice today?
Yeah, we learnt a lot about the river and about how we operate as a crew. I think the key thing we learned is real trust in the process and in one another to deliver. Perfect. So Jack, you've done this fixture before from the other side. How does it feel now racing this fixture, knowing that you've having had that experience from the boat race crew before?
Yeah, I mean it's always nice to be back down on the tideway. Obviously, being at Leander, the focus is a bit different, so the preps will go towards the head of the river towards the end of March, so this definitely helps us with that. But aside from that, it's also really good to get some side-by-side in. So against Oxford and Cambridge, both really strong opposition to test our pattern, a bit like what Will said, test our pattern under a bit more pressure of having another crew alongside, because that's going to be the job as well in the summer. Perfect, thank you very much.
So thank you again for that nice little interview, Angus. We have been saying that the dark blue race is going to be a little earlier at 12:40. They've had a chat on the river since then, and they've kind of pushed the Cambridge Reserves race ahead of the dark blue Leander fixture. And Cambridge Reserves just went off. They went past us, and they kind of had, I don't know, about 2-3 metres on Oxford Brooks. So the Oxford Brooks boats have been led by the light blue boats. I guess we might be looking at the race coming towards us, and if our director is very kind, that is probably the race between Cambridge and Oxford Brooks. This is an absolute bonus if we get this.
Absolutely, and I think it looks like Oxford Brooks on the Surrey station have got a slight advantage over Cambridge, but this looks like a phenomenal race.
Yeah, so Cambridge were up and Brooks have rode through them, and of course we did talk about the crew on that far side, the Surrey station, having a big advantage in this fixture, Grace.
Yeah, we did, and it's that sort of mental confidence you need to know if you're on the outside you're going to have to row a bit further, you're going to have to push a bit harder, but how much can you almost, I guess, use the other crew's advantage to your advantage, and if you can hold them, they start to think, oh gosh, we're being held while we've got the inside. So there's a lot of mind games and that going on when you're on this corner, but yeah, it's tough on the outside.
I mean, the Cambridge crew look to be rowing quite well there. I don't know how much rowing the Brooks guys will have done. I know they would have been on their training camp at Wimbledon, but they've been off the river at Wallingford, I guess.
Yeah, well, they'll have the head of the river race on the horizon, so I'm sure they'll be getting some time in the eights, and they're always a force to be reckoned with. So that's a real stern test for the Cambridge crew, and it looks like they've dealt with it very well.
So this is looking towards Putney Bridge from the embankment. So the crews will be racing towards us, that very famous landmark. This is another camera shot, and you can see this is the race that started earlier. Oxford Brooks in the yellow and the maroon, and the Cambridge light blues on the far side. Care to say anything about that, Grace?
Yeah, I think the Cambridge crew is looking, obviously they're on the outside and a little bit behind, but they're looking pretty smooth. I think they're all looking in pretty good unison. I would say it's a good, strong squad at the moment. They've built a good culture and they've got that depth coming through, but it looks like they're just having a bit more difficulty on the outside, keeping up with a very solid Oxford Brooks crew.
Yeah, Brooks look to be just about to break clear. Very chunky on the front end, the Brooks crew. Super boat, coached by Henry Balash Webb. Are they coming down round Chiswick-Ayot? And I think they might have broken clear, Brooks, just at that point, looking from our camera. And the light blues are just moving over, try and get sort of some bit of recompense from being on the outside of that bend.
Yeah, the Cambridge Cox is actually putting his crew in a bit of a bad position there, getting some dirty water down from Brooks, and perhaps would benefit from moving slightly out of their puddles a bit more.
So you can see the coxing, the Cambridge crew is going right back behind Oxford Brooks, and is that something you see about the Cambridge Cox's tactics, Grace?
It's pretty aggressive angles, and as you say, it's actually quite difficult to row in dirty water when the tideway's already bouncy and bumpy everywhere. But in dirty water, it feels like you can't get grip. You're just in their puddles, and it can be quite difficult for the rowers to really get in a rhythm like that.
So Brooks with clear water, we're going to have to leave this race and come to the main event, which is the Oxford Dark Blue boys up against the Leander crew. Leander on the right of our picture, you can't miss them there with those cerise pink blades, and the dark blues, you can't miss them on the left. I guess the Oxford men must have won the toss. I'm thinking they would have chosen Surrey, and this race will be off very shortly. Leander need to get an advantage on this first bend if they are going to predominate around that long Surrey bend post Hammersmith Bridge.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said before, Jack's a very experienced Cox on the tideway now, having had that experience in the boat race, so he'll know exactly what the tactics will be from either station. But yes, they're going to have to get off very, very hard.
Both Coxes with their hands up at the moment. Is that something you're used to as rowers?
Yeah, I think the coxswains never want to be in the worst position, so it's a bit of a mind game when they're going to put them down, but it looks like we're about to get a start here.
Yeah, that's Sir Matthew Pinston, the umpire. You could probably tell his voice if you're an aficionado of the boat race. Like the way Oxford have gone off, really clean, really tidy, really cohesive. And Leander offered a high rate of striking. But yeah, my first real look at the dark blue boat, and I'm impressed.
Yeah, I think Oxford actually dealing with this slightly rougher stuff, almost a bit better than Leander at the moment. Leander look a little bit all over the place with their blades, but I'm sure as they settle they'll get better. But I'm really impressed with this Oxford crew off the start.
How much do these Leander boys want this race? They want to beat Oxford. I mean, how important is it for them? Because obviously Oxford, it's massive just before the boat race. But what about Leander?
Well, you know, I said about the head of the river race earlier. This is a very strong Leander crew, and their main opposition is going to be that Brooks crew that we just saw. So they're going to be wanting to get this really good racing experience on the Tideway, so they're best prepared to win that.
Well, Oxford have the advantage, a very good looking Oxford crew that their amazing coach Sean Bowden has put together, and to be fair, Leander haven't had the best of times in terms of rowing on the river. They've had to contend with illness, COVID and such, and not had that many outings, certainly not as many as Oxford. But, you know, we can leave the excuses to one side, because as you told us in the crew intro, Angus, this Leander crew is absolutely stacked.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just looking at... quite interesting in the Leander crew, they have two rowers in the middle of the boat on bow side. In rowing terms, we call that a bucket rig. Now, luckily, that's on the outside of the two crews. So I think that if they're going to clash, like looks like they are doing now.
Whose fault is that clash?
So I'd say that's probably Jack, the Leander Cox. Looks like he's steering into them, but it looks like he's corrected his mistake now.
What are you seeing, Grace?
What's interesting, I think, comparing it to the fixture we watched just before, where the Cambridge women came in really close to the bank, these crews seem to be taking the opposite, and it seems like Jack kind of put his crew in a bit of a position of having to dodge a few blades, and to me it looks like the Oxford crew is a little bit looser in the upper body, and are managing to deal with the bumpy water and the clashes a little bit better from it, whereas maybe a little bit more tension in the Leander crew. But yeah, it's making them work for it.
I think actually, so it's actually a deliberate tactic from Jack to go for the clash. Oxford had jumped out to a bit of a lead there, and you know, just to try and disrupt them, you want to check that momentum that Oxford had got by causing a clash.
Yeah, I just wonder whether Leander might have started to move back a little bit now. I was going to say Oxford are going to move away and win as they wanted, and just a result of the Cambridge blue boat up against Oxford Brooks. Oxford Brooks won by 1.5 lengths. So this is the dark blue boat, Oxford on the left, looking very good. Leander, bit of a shaky start. They seem to have got their act together back on this bend, and are now going to test Oxford, which is exactly what Sean Bowden and the Oxford boys want.
Yeah, absolutely. They you know, win or lose. Obviously, they want to win this and have a winning result going into the boat race. But ultimately, what Sean wants to see is like really good responses to challenges.
Whoa!
Big clashes. He wants to see really strong responses to challenges that are being presented by a very strong Leander crew.
So Leander crew on the right of your picture have come back into it. They need to, because Oxford are going to have the advantage of the longer Surrey bends, and that cohesive boat, they're really nice, as you were saying, Grace, just off the back turn. Nice recovery. Looks like Sean Bowden's done a great job with them. Leander still there, maybe move back a little bit, and a lot of pride at stake, as you said, with this. The Leander boys preparing for the head of the river, a lot of GB internationals, the outstanding Dowie de Graaf in the 6th seat, and what wouldn't any crew give to have that lad in the stern of the boat. And Leander are moving back on Oxford.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just looking at the Oxford stroke man, Elliot Kemp, and he looks really calm, really relaxed, and also really strong. He's really powering that Oxford crew along. And in the next couple of minutes, perhaps if they decide to make a bit of a move on Leander and make the most out of this inside bend, and he's got to be the one to lead that. And I think he's doing a fantastic job. Big push coming up at Harrods. Potentially, it's a traditional place where you might push in the boat race. But you might be if you're on the Middlesex and responding to a move, or if you want to make a move. It's we see a lot of moves around that part of the race.
Interestingly enough, I think as the race has gone on, I feel like the Leander crew has seemed to relax into it a little bit more. They looked a bit tense at the start, and they looked like blades are hitting and tensions are coming in, but maybe as they've gotten a little bit more and more tired, it looks like they've relaxed. Even despite all the clashes and everything going on, I feel like they're only looking better and better as it goes down the course. And we've talked a lot about the bends in these fixtures, and it looks like they're not too phased about it and are trying to kind of stamp their mark before really giving Oxford the advantage on the inside.
What a cracking race we've got for you today. This is absolutely fantastic. Both crews dead level, blades interlocking, coming up to Hammersmith Bridge. We've got another 5 minutes of racing. Call it, Angus.
I can't call it just at the moment. It's going to be a fascinating next couple of minutes to see who kind of takes the initiative and actually puts the pressure on the other crew. But I think this is really valuable experience for both crews actually. Like having a crew so close to you. The boat race is all about a mental battle. It's about who can sit in the pain the longest and put the pressure on the other crew, and who's going to be the first one to crack. And Oxford's preparation here, they've just got to stay calm and believe in themselves.
You can really hear the umpire having to work for it in this one. I think he's got his work cut out for him. But both crews are handling it very, very well, and both crews also look like they've got still the steps to step up. So it's when the first crew is going to make the choice to actually be like, okay, now's the time we're going to have to go.
If Leander win this will be a massive win on the outside of the bend. And Jack Totem, the former Oxford Cox.
Big crab. Oh,
Leander have got the best out of that. Will the umpire stop them? They've lost their blades, Oxford. Will he stop the race, Matthew Pinsent, and restart? He will. Oh my God! Talk us through what you saw, guys.
Well, it looked just a bit. I think that was James Doran in the 4 seat there, I believe. Yeah, just unfortunately got his blade turned, and in that situation, rather counterintuitively, you've almost got to hold on to the oar as hard as possible. Make sure that it doesn't get flipped by the opposition's blade.
I must get a plug-in for James Doran. He's never been the same oarsman since he rowed with me. I think he was a schoolboy and I was an old man. He's gone on to great things.
James is a fantastic oarsman, and I'm sure he'll be he'll make sure that he will not make that mistake in the actual boat race. But these things happen, and it's all good experience to.
Okay. Whose advantage is it now? We're doing a restart. We've got about 4 minutes of racing, maybe 3.5. Whose advantage? Who's going to win?
It's a hard one to call. I think it looked like Leander was getting into a really good rhythm there. This is going to give Oxford the chance to sit, reset, and kind of keep clear of the Leander crew, who's like persisting on sort of putting the pressure on them, being really, really close. If they can kind of head for their inside corner at the start, I think this might work in their favour.
I think also the physiological impact of the piece that they've just done. Okay, Oxford probably just had a slightly faster start, and they're going to be feeling a lot of lactic acid. They're in a whole load of pain, and now they've just stopped and they're going to have to go again. You're just wondering who's that last piece, who's it taken more out of?
Yeah, and as you said, Grace, Leander were a bit sort of rushed, a little bit less relaxed than the Oxford crew off that previous start, but they look to have gone into the lead off of this start now.
You can really see, it looks like you can see the fight that Leander is having in this race, and they are not here to lose. But the Oxford crew is just sort of like embracing every challenge and doing really well with it. But it's a very aggressive Leander crew.
Oxford moving.
Oxford moving, we think. You heard the voice there of Angus Groom, boat race winner with the Dark Blues in 2022. And Oxford have got a little bit of a bend on their side. And then both crews know it is a sprint. Oxford at 41, Leander at 39.5.
Yeah, I think the approach has changed. It's all about winning now. It's not about settling onto a long distance rhythm. It's who gets to the finish line first.
I think this second piece is definitely a drag race rather than
Oh, it is sensational. But it doesn't matter if Leander get this by 1 foot. It's bragging rights, isn't it?
It is, and I think it's just wonderful that we're getting such a close race.
And Jack Totem is not going to steer into Oxford. I think Leander have that extra advantage. Again, we've talked about the guys in the Leander 8, the fantastic crew of Harris, Pryor, Beeson, Bannister, Schroeder, Dowie de Graaf, the prodigy who did so well in the GB trials just a week or so ago, Turnell, and Matt Rowe in the stroke seat, coxed by Jack Totem. They are up and moving, aren't they?
They want this. They are absolutely powering that boat along. But Oxford are sticking in there. They haven't let them go yet.
No, and I think the race has probably got about 30-40 seconds to run, and Leander still up very high with the rating. Oxford have impressed me throughout this fixture, and they continue to impress now. I think with their composure, they're up against a very strong crew, but the boys in dark blue are doing really, really well.
They'll be in a lot of pain now. I think having that stop and start, it affects you a lot. The lactate acid just kicks in, and then having to do a short sprint to the finish line. Oh, it's intense.
You can just see Harry Glenister there, just had a bit of a clash
and
again.
Stokes lost his blade.
Leander's stopped as well now.
Oh, what's going to happen? Is he going to restart? Oh, we haven't seen a big crab like that. Will Oxford go through and win? Oh my God, did Oxford win that fixture? Who's going to take the result? Someone in Oxford holds their arms out to say, we've won. And Leander had it there. What was Jack Totem doing?
So Jack's known to be a little bit of an aggressive cox.
Why did he do that? Because they were winning.
I know. I think he just look. You want to be able to dominate your position, and perhaps he felt like he had a bit of an upper hand there. But both coxes, I think they're very experienced, and they don't want to let their crew down. And perhaps that was the wrong call then, but it was the right sentiment, I think.
Grace, is your call?
Oh, there's a lot happened in there.
They're out to 3/4 of a length.
You can see it looks like he's just starting to try and clear out, but it's a little bit.
Oh no! Is it the Oxford Cox?
I think it's the Oxford Cox going in.
Oh, disqualify Oxford.
Yeah,
right.
My apologies to Jack there. Yeah, I didn't see that properly. It looks like Will was just slightly wide on that bend.
Will Denbury.
Yeah.
He was moving across to Leander, wasn't he? So Jack Totem, you're fantastic. You're in the clear, mate.
Yeah, and actually it may well have benefited Oxford from cutting the corner a bit more.
Do you think Matt Pinson's going to disqualify Oxford, his own university, from that piece?
Well, it definitely, Oxford was coming into the Leander crew at the end, and they managed to sneak through to the win. So it'll be interesting to see how he plays this out. I'm sure he'll be sitting there having a little bit of an internal dilemma on what to do here.
I think they ought to go back to Hammersmith Bridge and do another drag race.
That's what the fans want to see. Actually, interestingly, Cross, you said about the umpires being from different universities. We were actually told that you don't really want an umpire from your own university because they don't want to be seen as biased. Actually, as an Oxford person, you want a Cambridge umpire and vice versa.
I know there was a famous boat race, wasn't there, when was it Rupert Obholzer, dark blue, was umpiring, and there was a clash, and he stopped them. And I think maybe Oxford were right when they clashed, but he started them level. And did Cambridge go on to win? I might have got that wrong. I'm sorry, because there'd be lots of aficionados watching this. But that might be an example. And the two crews are together. Are they showing some bromance there between the crews, or are they going to go back and race again?
Oh, I don't know. I think there's a lot of friends between the two boats, so I'm sure there's no hard feelings between the two.
Oh, do you reckon? I wouldn't say that.
Well, mate,
I've sworn a lot at people I knew that were in a dark blue boat I was racing.
I think it's entertainment. I think as a rower you like being in an exciting race, as chaotic as it is, but it makes you think about other things. You're thinking about the clashes, you're thinking about the other crew, so I'm sure in the end they were all wanting to win, but it's exciting to be a part of, and it's entertaining.
Certainly. I think that's that having two crews so close together, it's just fantastic preparation for the boat race, where Cambridge looked fantastic as well, and both men and women's crews. I can't wait for boat race day, because I think we're going to get some cracking racing.
Yeah, it is going to be absolute. I said it from the first few strokes. I thought, oh, very punchy dark blue crew, and we are going to get a verdict. Look at a verdict here, and there is no result in that fixture. Oh, hang on, wait. Oh, no. Oxford Blue Boat on Surrey, Leander and Middlesex. Oxford University win, Leander DQ'd at Furnival. So that's the first piece. So Matt Pinson disqualified Leander and then let them race for that little last bit, which was a blast, and there was no result at Chiswick Steps.
There's a lot to unpack in that.
Yeah. So we didn't know that Matt Pinson. Actually, I don't know which tie he was wearing. He could have been a dark blue, but he could have been wearing the Leander tie, of course, because he used to row for Leander.
Absolutely.
I'm sure he's a member. So I think very interesting. What do we read into that? Does the disqualification matter? What's Sean Bowden going to take to it? What Matt Beachy, the Leander coach, going to take from it? What are the boys in the crews going to take from it?
I think in the end, the point of these fixtures is to prep you for the boat race or for whatever you're working for. So win or lose, disqualified or not disqualified, I think they'll take a lot out of being put under pressure, having to deal with that, having to deal with a crew that is fighting for absolutely everything. So I think they'll take confidence that they were able to handle it and move forward with that, is my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. So this fixture actually reminds me a lot of one of the fixtures I was involved in during my year against Oxford Brookes, and we had a similar clash and a blade getting lost. And what we took from that fixture was just confidence from different parts of the race, and you break it down into sections almost and say, right, what do we want to improve, and what do we take from that? So of course, if it didn't work out perfectly in terms of the result, we could take a lot from it. And like Grace said, you want to be able to implement that in the boat race.
Right, so I'm going to ask you guys now. You've seen some of the crews racing in January in this fixture now. Who's in the pole position? Who's the favourites for the women's boat race, and who's the favourites for the men's boat race? Which is, a bit of a challenging question, but there we go.
Very challenging question. I think it's really hard. I think based on the results, it could be either way. I think when you add in other factors, there's I think having the confidence to win is one thing. I think the Cambridge women having a really strong winning streak recently, they know that they've got a program that is successful, and maybe that'll come into play on boat race day. They know how to win. But in saying that, I think watching the Oxford women this year, and even seeing how the entire Oxford club has banded together as one club now, and I feel like you can see that play through to the rowing as well. I think it could be on more of a level playing field, but Yeah, once again, I've really sat on the fence on this one.
Yeah.
I might go for a... Yeah, I feel really disloyal, but yeah, I think I might go for a Cambridge women win because of it's really important to know how to win on the day.
Yeah.
And they've got that experience in their crew.
Let's put you out of your misery, Angus.
Yeah, thank you. I stumbled through that one.
Yeah, it's a very, very tough one to call. I think on balance, so on the women's side, I think the Oxford women have stepped up from recent years. I've been very impressed with their fixtures, and I think they've got a very talented squad. So I think I would probably call an Oxford women's victory. And on the men's side, you can have a really strong squad, but the boat race is very unpredictable. There's lots of things that can go wrong. You're at the mercy of the elements out on the tideway, and that's the beauty of the boat race. And Cambridge, they have boat race. The Cambridge men have got boat race winners, and much the same as the women as well. But I think okay, I'm going to back my colours, and I'm going to go for an Oxford clean sweep this year.
Yeah, I would say. I mean, I did say Oxford were favourites last year after that win against Leander. I kind of think I looked at Oxford. They've got to win this year. It's real focus. It's not really right to put them as favourites, but I'd say they're the ones to be knocked off their perch. I think Cambridge have got still work to do, the men, so I'd kind of just go marginal advantage to Oxford Blue. I think with the women, the Oxford women really impressed me against Brooks. I think that's the best rowing I've seen. Cambridge were pretty good today. I'd say marginally the dark blues going to the last few weeks with an advantage, but we know that things can change around in these last few weeks.
Yeah, I think in my boat race experience, I was amazed at how much crews come together in these last few weeks. And if you get on the right rhythm, if you get on the right trajectory, you can make some really big changes in a very short period of time. And it's who can do that and who can embrace the challenge of what the boat race is.
Last word, Angus?
I just echo those sentiments of Grace. Really, I think it's a very special experience, the boat race, and you can't underestimate the effect that a squad atmosphere can have on a crew. And if you get these last couple of weeks are going to be pivotal for all the crews and all the squads. And ultimately, I think whoever's going to win is going to be the one with the best attitude.
So you heard from Grace Prendergrass and Angus Groom there, and you've been watching our presentation of the second series of boat race fixtures. Just one brief result to give you: the Cambridge Reserve lost to Oxford Brooks by 3 lengths. So Brooks getting the better of the light blues in both of their fixtures. It's been a privilege to talk you through the races this afternoon, and we are going to be back. All of us are going to be back in one place or another watching the boat race on the 30th of March. Before then, remember, if you can get down to the crew announcements at Battersea Power Station on the 13th of March in the afternoon, crew announcement in the evening, please do so. But otherwise, it's been our pleasure to take you through some fantastically exciting fixtures. I'm sure you'll agree with that. And from me, Martin Cross, Angus Groom and Grace Prendergrass, it's goodbye for now.
This holiday, give yourself the transformation you deserve.
Yes, you've got this.
Get healthier and stronger
You never regret a workout.
with coaching from world-class athletes who will take you to stunning locations with low-impact, full-body workouts.
We want to find momentum today together.
The best 20 minutes of your day every day.
This is gonna be exciting really quick.